rainstorms destroyed part of Highway 1 in Big Sur. Stay tuned for how tourism is doing and how you can still visit.
How an ecology professor has shared her research during the pandemic.
Swastikas were found spray painted in front of the Jewish Fraternity house. Student leaders' reactions come. Good morning and welcome back to Mustang News TV. I'm Jared Contreras.
And I'm Kylie Caper, giving you the latest in local and campus news stories. After a devastating 150 stretch of Highway 1 fell into the ocean, Big Sur faces another challenge after the summer fires and alongside COVID regulations. Reporter Catherine Lane has more on how it's affecting the community and tourism.
It's actually somewhat common for parts of the Pacific Coast Highway to break off, isolating parts of Big Sur every few years. Luckily, there was only one section of the highway cut off near Rat Creek and Lucia. Drew Carlson, the general manager for Fernwood Campground and Resort in Big Sur, says the main effects from the collapse are tourists not knowing how to get to them anymore.
A lot of people think it's a massive detour that they have to deal with, but because when you drive up Highway 1, it's really windy and tight curves at times, so it's pretty slow going, and the traffic, if you've got a big RV or something in front of you, you could be stuck for a while and going pretty slow. So if you take the 101, you're able to drive a lot faster. So it only adds about half an hour to take the 101.
Traffic controller David Cummings spent his day at the Southern Blockade 15 miles away from the collapse, turning people away. A car full of the uninformed came every few minutes. Cummings says he was told Caltrans is moving back the blockade to Lucia, and that the repairs to the road are already in progress. Cummings also worked on the collapse in 2017 after the Mud Creek landslide. And what happened then could repeat this year if it rains again.
I started the end of February, 1st of March, and they said, oh, you guys will be out here till the 4th of July. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a good long job, that's nice. And it took till end of August to start opening it. And in that time, Mud Creek slid out. The big one down south of us slid out. So we were up here a total of 3 years.
Cummings says if the weather conditions are perfect and nothing else goes wrong, the road could be back up as early as July. Reporting for Mustang News, I'm Catherine Lane.
For those down south in San Luis Obispo, you may be waiting a while to drive back up to Big Sur.
Ecologist and Professor Yamina Pressler has been using social media to spread awareness of the importance of soils. As a way of transitioning to online teaching during COVID-19, soil science and ecology professor Yamina Pressler works to spread the message about the importance of soils by sharing needs on her website, Twitter, and Instagram.
On Instagram in particular, it has been fun because the community of soil scientists and soil enthusiasts, I guess you could say, people who are excited and interested in learning more about soil, come from far and wide. Many of them are soil scientists themselves, but even more so, it's people who are interested in gardening or agriculture, or former students that we have had that want to stay connected with soils. And so there's a lot of different kinds of people.
Pressler has also started putting her content online at the start of the pandemic to share and collaborate with other professors in a similar position as her, who are struggling with the transition to online learning. If you're interested in learning more about Pressler's outreach, follow her on Instagram at Wonder of Soil. For Mustang News, I'm Jared Contreras with Grace Kitayama.
Stay tuned after the break to hear about weather with our reporter Amanda Rondez.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Action!
Today is a sunny day in San Luis Obispo with a high of around 62 degrees and a low of around 41 degrees. Chance of rain is only at 2% while humidity is at 56%. Winds will be at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Now for your 5-day forecast. On Wednesday, we can expect a high of 63 and a low of 42. And Thursday, there will be a high of around 67 and low of 42. Friday, there will be partly cloudy with a high of 66 and low of 44 degrees. We can expect a sunny weekend with a high of 64 and low of 42 on Saturday, and a high of 68 and low of 47 degrees on Sunday. Taking a look at the coastal regions, temperatures have highs in the low 60s and lows in the low 40s. Cayucos has a high of 62, Morro Bay has a high of 60, Avila Beach has a high of 61 degrees with winds at 20 to 30 miles per hour, with possible gusts at around 40 miles per hour. Pismo Beach has a high of 61, and finally, Oceano has a high of 62 degrees. Lows are at 43 and 42 degrees for these regions. And that's all we have for weather.
Thanks, Amanda. The coronavirus pandemic has boosted the importance of hobbies. For one Cal Poly senior, a physical media collection has grown significantly over the past year. Reporter Alex Byers has the story.
Whether it's heavy metal, new wave, or punk rock, Cal Poly senior James Crastip prefers to listen from the turntable. And organized meticulously in a dozen cubbies next to that turntable are the LPs he adores. He's been building a record collection for more than 8 years now, but his reason for collecting goes beyond pure sound quality.
For me, record collecting is the action of digging into music in a way that is more than just the actual sounds that the songs make. Because when you have a physical album, there's a good amount of ephemera that you don't get when you just listen to the album digitally.
His collection started when his grandmother gave him a box of 1960s rock singles. It's been growing ever since.
Actual albums, I've got probably somewhere between 800 and 900, but just actual discs, I've got a little over 1,000.
Nearly 300 discs have been added during the pandemic, making 2020 a, quote, record year for James. For Mustang News, I'm Alex Byers.
San Luis Obispo record stores, Cheap Thrills and Boo Boo Records, are safely open to help you add to your record collection.
President of Slow Hillo and Mustang News reporter Mickey Dubry depict the events of last week's hate crime and how Jewish community responded.
On the Shabbat morning of February 6th, members of Alpha Epsilon Pi and the rest of the Jewish community in San Luis Obispo woke up to find a devastating display.
We awoke to multiple swastikas and Jewish slurs written on our doorstep and on the public property in front of our house.
Current president of Alpha Epsilon Pi and Industrial Technology Junior Noah Matloff knew that this was calculated and targeted at the Jewish community.
We can't take this lightly. This is not something that we can let fly under the radar. This is not just some one-off comment. This is a direct crime against our organization and the larger Jewish community in San Luis Obispo.
Cal Poly and AE Pi alumni Tal Edelstein had a strong reaction to his alma mater situation.
I was very upset. I texted my friends, texted my family, what's going on, and it was definitely tough to see that.
The incident gained local, national, and international media coverage as people from all over the world recognized the SLO community's efforts to shed light on the situation.
This happened, but how do we fix this and how can we improve this? And I mean, just looking at the AE Pi fundraiser that's been going on, I mean, that is That's the epitome of, I think, Jewish success.
A GoFundMe page was started by AEPI Philanthropy Chair and Sociology sophomore Darren Deutsch.
We immediately created a fundraising page for one, Yad Vashem, and two, the JCC here in SLO. So we were super quick to act, and I think that we turned something ugly into something beautiful.
San Luis Obispo Hillel's academic advisor and anthropology junior Isabel Ditzler sees a clear need for more education.
Anybody who thinks anti-Semitism isn't a serious issue, it clearly is. It happened in our community. Swastikas should not be taken lightly. If you're not educated about the Holocaust, get educated.
The San Luis Obispo Jewish community will continue to stand strong and united in the face of adversity. Reporting for Mustang News, I'm Mickey Dubry.
Thank you, Mickey. The Cal Poly community stands against anti-Semitism.
And coming up after the break, reporter Blas Alvarado has the update on the latest senior project spotlight.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
As Cal Poly students start wrapping up their college career, many of them start to put a lot of work on their senior projects. This is your Senior Project Spotlight.
As we come to the tail end of our school year, Cal Poly seniors are completing their senior projects. Welcome to Senior Project Spotlight, the series that features Cal Poly seniors' hard work on their projects. This week we focus on computer engineering senior Kevin Dixon and computer science senior Tegan Fleischman, who are working with the California State University Long Beach Shark Lab on their senior project. They're working on a more efficient way to retrieve data on sharks that will help researchers and could potentially protect beachgoers.
I have all these funny connections with Kevin, but one of the things that ties him and I together is that we're both surfers. And so when he came to me with this project idea and was like, we're basically gonna build a system to monitor sharks in the ocean, I thought that was kind of the coolest sounding thing ever, because for me, this project is sort of the intersection of something that I'm passionate about, which is the ocean and surfing and conservation, and using my skill set in computer science and programming to do that.
Currently, in order for the Shark Lab to track the movement of sharks, the lab has tagged acoustic transmitters to the fins of sharks, which sends the location every so often to any of the 115 receivers that line the coast from Point Conception to the Mexican-American border. But since the receivers require a team of scuba divers to retrieve the information they pick up, getting all the valuable data that the lab needs is not only time-consuming, but also expensive. Dixon and Fleischman are helping the Shark Lab with designing a buoy that will use existing receivers and cellular radio transmitters to send the lab information in real time. The buoy would also gather information that the old receiver did not, like the weather and the sounds of the ocean with a hydrophone, which Dixon says could potentially help the public.
Now the researchers can get live data and kind of look at it on a website and see, oh, this shark is here and it's moving up the coast. And then potentially if it's really close to Venice Beach, hey, maybe we want to let the lifeguards know, big old Bessie white shark is is floating near the Santa Monica Pier.
They hope to finish a prototype that will survive the waves by the end of the spring. For Mustang News, I'm Blas Alvarado.
Join us next week when we cover a senior project that uses OWL to help journalists cover stories that may go unnoticed.
And with that, we have reached the end of our newscast. For Mustang News TV, I'm Jared Contreras.
And I'm Kylie Caper. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.